Well, the Toronto Blue Jays could not keep their home winning streak alive. They finished with 11 total wins at home, but they do drop to the Yankees. Overall, a pretty competitive baseball game.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. As always, I'm Braden Wasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5Wasco. Carter First, too, as well, on our main Twitter account at Locked On Jays. You can also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. And please, if you're new here to YouTube, you're finding us for the first time, you're listening anywhere else, please go over to the YouTube page, hit the subscribe button. It means everything. You get your shorts, your live streams, your podcasts, your videos, the whole ordeal. So yeah, make sure you guys do that. You can hit that. You can also turn on bell notifications so you get up to date whenever any of those things do go live. But first of all, I want to thank all of you and everybody that was in the live stream with us last night. We had a blast. We did the 999 challenge. Carter, I think, finished 8 beers.
No, I got all the beers down. Just the
beers,
hot
7
dogs.
hot dogs.
Yeah, the hot dogs were too much for me to overcome. Unfortunately, for Braden, it was all too much to overcome. 7-7, I believe he was.
7-7.
Almost did the doubleheader challenge. It would have been 7 innings, but unfortunately, the game was 9 innings for the Toronto Blue Jays. And unfortunately for the Blue Jays, they did not come out with a win, which is obviously the bigger picture, not whether or not myself and Braden did complete the 999 challenge. But maybe there is a little bit of fault for us to be had because we were unable to finish, and the Toronto Blue Jays were unable to come away with a win. Same kind of storyline for us, that we had a chance, especially near the end, but kind of gave it away. I mean, obviously some different instances and some stuff was going on with us, but the Blue Jays, Jeff Hoffman, unfortunate pitch near the end there, kind of a meatball to Ben Rice. Can't give up a home run in the 9th inning and expect to win a baseball game for the most part. But yeah, unfortunate circumstance for the way the game ended in totality. Like, not bad baseball game, but it's never going to be a good baseball game, especially when the result is a loss to your AL East opponent.
Yeah, and I think the main storyline coming out of that game is going to be runners left on base. I mean, the Blue Jays finished with 11 runners left on. The Yankees a whole lot less than that. And that's what comebacks to bite them, right? Like, I mean, again, if we look at total hits by the team, the Blue Jays had 11 hits, thinking, oh, okay, this is pretty good. The Yankees only had 6 hits in that ball game. This is a game that, again, you look at statistic-wise, the Blue Jays should have been able to win, but when you can't cash in, bases loaded twice in that ball game, how do you expect to win that baseball game? And I guess, Carter, before we really talk about the offense, we got to talk about Max Scherzer's outing. I think you want Scherzer. We've said this a ton, that if Scherzer can go 5 innings with 3-run ball, at this point, he's your 5th starter, and you just got to be okay with that and sort of happy with that. But it was 5 innings of 4-run ball. And don't get me wrong, I think if 4-run ball would have been a lot easier to take if it wasn't 3 runs in the first inning.
That's the biggest issue. It's just that 3-run home run that you give up in that first inning. Not a great pitch to Trent Grisham. Not the worst pitch of all time. You allow the leadoff hitter to get on, though, at the start of a baseball game. A lot of the times that's not going to be beneficial, especially with the next guy up in the order. But Aaron Judge, not really a problem in this game for the Toronto Blue Jays, which is pretty interesting because usually Aaron Judge is the guy to beat you in a baseball game, but does go 0 for 3 with a walk. Nothing crazy going on. It was Cody Bellinger, believe it or not, who is the guy that was doing damage to this ball club. 8 total bases, 2 doubles, and a home run. Just all over Max Scherzer. Didn't matter what he was pitching, especially the fastball. It seemed like he was doing a lot of damage off the fastball in this game. Is Cody Bellinger really took kind of things into his own hands and did put the Yankees over the Blue Jays in this game. But giving up a 3-run bomb in the first inning, super deflating. This Blue Jays ball club is prone to coming back and not being out of any single baseball game. But when you have to overcome that deficit that early on, no matter who you're playing against, no matter how good your baseball team is playing, That's not exactly the deficit that you want to overcome. Other than that, not a bad outing from Max Scherzer. That, again, the home run to Cody Bellinger, not the greatest pitch of all time. Probably caught too much of the middle of the plate. Not exactly where Max Scherzer wanted to throw it. But in the grand scheme of things, for your fifth starter, 5 innings of 4 earned runs. If it was 3 earned runs, I'd be happy with 5 innings pitched with 3 earned runs. That fourth one makes things a little bit more complicated, and that probably does end up making the Toronto Blue Jays, in the grand scheme of things, lose this baseball game. Again, other things happen, but not the best performance from Max Scherzer, but was able to dial it in after that first inning and give the Blue Jays at least some length in this little stretch here where they have 14 baseball games in 13 days.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't think that I know you said like that's the one that comes back to bite them, and obviously, but I don't really put this game solely on Max Scherzer. I think the offense had a lot to do with this. A lot of opportunity, just couldn't get it done. And when I look at the pitching staff in general in this game, there was a lot of pitches right over the heart of the plate that the Yankees missed. So, as much as I want to blame our offense, I think when you look at the big picture of this ball game, offensively from both teams, I think there was a lot of pitches and a lot of at-bats that both teams would have liked to have back.
I think it was actually more so for the Toronto Blue Jays if we're talking about mistake pitches. It seemed like Cam Schlittler was all over the middle of the plate. And I get he is throwing 98, 99. Like, this is a younger player. This is the reason why he's in the big leagues, not because of the experience, is that because when you throw that high velocity, which is pretty obvious, that you are able to throw more mistake pitches. You are able to get away with more pitches over the middle of the plate. And Cam Schlittler, especially with the lack of scouting for what the Toronto Blue Jays did have, felt like there was a lot of opportunities, especially early on in this baseball game, where this team could not come up in the clutch. First inning, you have bases loaded, Alejandro Kirk can't have a productive at-bat. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. went 3 for 5 in this game, but his 2 outs were with runners in scoring position, were in big moments in that baseball game where you get those 3 hits. Yes, they were nice hits to have, but would you rather him go 1 for 5 with a massive hit with runners in scoring position and the bases loaded, or would you rather him go 3 for 5 getting base hits when it helped the lineup kind of move forward, but didn't really end up in having damage for this Toronto Blue Jays ball club? So there were some instances where some veteran hitters, some hitters that you want to be in these situations, came up and really did not perform for your baseball team. But in totality, just some mistake pitches from your Blue Jays starting staff, some mistakes the Toronto Blue Jays did not end up hitting, and that's what ended up happening, is that the Yankees just ended up taking advantage of more opportunities than the Blue Jays did in this game. And that's why I hate saying this, and I like, especially the way the Blue Jays are playing, but it's kind of just a ball loss. Unfortunately, that's kind of how I have to succumb to this one.
Yeah, again, I'm not super upset about this game. I think as a Blue Jays fan, you look at this ball game just maybe on the stat sheet or on the scorecard, and yeah, you're upset. Hey, why couldn't this team that's been so good in like close ball games and being able to win those close ball games, why couldn't they get this one done? This would have been a big one to get done. But I think this was a competitive game, and this isn't something I can be super upset about because this team has been playing so well. Again, they were 4 for 4 before this game coming out of the All-Star break. Can you imagine any team going on back-to-back long winning streaks? No, not really. So I'm not super upset. I think this is one that the Blue Jays missed out on the ability to continue this streak going and maybe start another one, right? You start 4 for 4, you get to 5 to 5, and then again, it's that momentum, that build up that starts to happen, and this team could take advantage of. But instead, you drop this one 5 to 4 against the Yankees, which is just painful in the long run. More so than anybody against the Yankees. But you're right, and there's one more thing that I want to get into massively that really upset me in this ball game. That's been upsetting me all season. And you know what? Finally, we see somebody in Blue Jays media besides the two of us, Carter, actually talk about it. So I want to talk about that in the second segment here. But just to finish this one off, I got to give a shout out to Mason Fluharty and Justin Brule as well. I think both of them had really good games. Mason Fluharty seemed to be right back to action. I don't know if it was getting the call back up, but both those two guys seemed very on the ball today.
Yeah, you got to give credit to Mason Fluharty, especially making his first start back with the Toronto Blue Jays after his last kind of stint went with this ball club. Throws 2 innings, doesn't give up a hit, just looks really good. Looks like the command is fully back. A lefty that you kind of needed out of this bullpen. I thought Brendan Little would be available in this ball game. I think you probably go to Brendan Little there if he is available. It doesn't really seem like he was, but Mason Flaherty comes in and eats some innings for your baseball team. You get 3 scoreless innings after a Max Scherzer outing from Justin Brule and Mason Flaherty. Like, you can't be mad about that whatsoever. And you can't necessarily be mad about what Max Scherzer did. Yeah, maybe he gives up less earned runs, whatever. But you have 8 innings pitched with Justin Brule, Mason Flaherty, and Max Scherzer, and they give 4 earned runs. That is more than enough to give you a chance to win a baseball game, especially Cam Schlittler on the other side of the mound, especially with the Yankees and their bullpen usage against the Atlanta Braves. Luke Weaver was used for multiple innings in this game. Yes, Devin Williams was used for multiple innings in this game. So that could be used as a positive. The Toronto Blue Jays unable to win the second game of the series. But the top 2 relievers, Jonathan Wieska, also used in this game as well. He might be down for that third game. The Toronto Blue Jays should have some pretty decent bullpen matchups if they are able to get to Max Fried. That's the biggest issue, is that it is Max Fried that goes in that Wednesday game. But if they can get Max Fried, at least a pitch count up, and get to these bullpen arms, they should have some pretty good matchups. But yeah, shout out to Mason Flaherty for coming back and just being very good in his outing here with the Toronto Blue Jays. I'll throw it quickly back over to you, but there's some other stuff I wanted to throw in or go into about Mason Flaherty. I just don't have it pulled up right now. So just anything else you do have quickly about the Toronto Blue Jays, and I'll kind of end it off with some Flaherty stuff and then just some other stuff off the top to end it off.
No, totally. You got to give these guys credit because they were able to, sort of work around this game, giving this team an opportunity to not burn some of their really, really high-end guys that can be saved for game 3 in the case that, hey, this game doesn't go the Blue Jays' way and they have to battle in game 3 of this series. So huge shout out to them. These aren't the high leverage arms that this team needs every day, but in this availability, them getting 3 innings done saves a guy like Brendan Little, a guy like Yariel Rodriguez to come in game 3 and really work that, the Yankees hitters to try to secure that game 3 win and that series victory. But we'll talk about that later on, Carter. If you got that stuff ready to go, we can talk about Mason Flaherty a little bit. If not, we'll take a break because there's one big thing that I do want to talk about that I think sums up what this game came down to. And I think this whole year so far, when you're talking about some of the losses this team has occurred. But if you got those up, we can go to those.
Yeah, I got it from Mason Flaherty right here. I did notice that he used his cutter a whole lot in this outing. I wanted the specific numbers. He threw his cutter 19 out of 21 pitches. That is a ton of cutters to throw, obviously, but it worked pretty well for him. And again, it's just strictly the command that you do have on those pitches, especially when the Yankees seem like in this outing that they were kind of waiting on that sweeper. We're waiting for on that extended break. That's why Mason Flaherty with the 2 pitches. I don't usually love a pitcher with a 2-pitch mix. When you have a cutter, when you have a sweeper, when you have 2 pitches that move the same way, just that different measurements. Like the cutter is not going to move nearly as much, obviously, as the sweeper does. So when you are locating the cutter, especially when you are throwing it to left-handed hitters, which Flaherty was throwing it to left and right-handed batters, which was pretty cool to see. But the location on that Mason Flaherty cutter was definitely nice to see. And Justin Brule, kind of the same instance where he threw 9 out of 10 sinkers, whereas like you kind of relied on that one pitch they did have command on, maybe a little bit more of his hard throwing pitch. Whereas we saw the starter in the first game, Kevin Gausman, you really rely on that fastball, seeming like the same kind of instance, at least from these relief pitchers in this baseball game. And yeah, just shout out to them for some of the lower leverage guys on the Toronto Blue Jays for at least making this a competitive outing. So you look at down the Yankees side of things here, Devin Williams throws 19 pitches. Ian Hamilton throws only 4, but I mean, you go against Ian Hamilton. He's one of their middle leverage guys. Luke Weaver throws 30 pitches. There is no chance how that guy is available for that Wednesday game. Then Jonathan Wieska throws another 8 pitches. So, like I said, should be some good things in store for the Toronto Blue Jays, at least from the bullpen. It's just how quickly can you get to the bullpen? It will be the big question of that game. But there's just still a bunch that we want to get into. Some stuff from the hitters, some just storylines from the Toronto Blue Jays Yankees game. And then if you guys were tuned into the live stream, we do have some stuff that we do want to mention from that live stream as well. But a time more we want to get into, we'll dive right into that after this short break.
Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier with Monarch Money? It can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Something that's been top of mind for me. You know what? Between my spending to me wanting to save to me wanting to plan for a trip with the fellas, I've been really dialed into where and when my money goes. And really, Monarch Money has been the driving force to helping me to put away more money. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending, all in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off. 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Take advantage of this. There's no better time. 50% off, 50% off. It really doesn't get any better than that. It's something that's super helpful that me and Carter both have taken advantage of. So make sure you guys get on that. So, Carter, my big thing that I wanted to get into here before we talk a little bit about what happened on the live stream and everything like that, I do want to talk a little bit about that, and then getting into the third game of the series. This has been something that's been paining me for not only this past game, but all season long. And I've talked about it before, but I'm going to talk about it again because I'm frustrated. And it's Vlad's production, not only in runners in scoring position, but in key moments of baseball games. And that doesn't always mean when there is runners, on 2 and 3 or whatever. It's talking about, hey, when we need this guy the most to maybe spark this offense, it just doesn't seem to be happening. And you could really tell in this ball game that there was opportunities for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in big situations that he just did not take advantage of. And as the 3-hole hitter, he's the guy that you want in those positions. You got him in those positions, and it didn't happen again. And I'm sort of getting sick of the narrative of it's early, he'll get going eventually. And again, I don't want to rag on this team because they have been playing so well, but this is a guy that this team really needs to start heating up. And if it's not going to happen, I might be a little bit more worried.
We had a 3 for 5 day from Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah.
So it's not like he played bad baseball, but we look at the 2 outs that this guy did have. You look at the second inning, bases loaded. You're against Cam Schlittler. And I just want to quickly go into Cam Schlittler before we continue on with Vladdy.
Sure.
How cool is it to have a guy that you pull up from AAA and just throws 98, 99 pretty consistently? You're really saying 97.5. But for us, it's what Ricky Tiedemann, like what reminded me of what he could have been, still can be, I guess, but with all the injuries. Brandon Barrera, another guy that throws 97, 98, 99, another guy that was supposed to be in the Blue Jays pipeline that they could have relied on maybe this season if you don't have those injuries. So it makes me a little bit envious of the New York Yankees right now. And they do have some other injuries, Garrett Cole, Luis Heel, that could be in that spot other than Cam Schlittler. But still, like just seeing a guy just throw absolute gas from any side of the New York Yankees bullpen or starting pitching staff is definitely a little bit of tough things to see, especially for a young guy. You're like, oh, we're going to face this guy for the next probably 10 years. Not a fun scenario for your Toronto Blue Jays, unfortunately, for that one. But Vladimir Guerrero Jr., like I said, goes up in the second inning. Runners or bases loaded, runners in scoring position, roll over to second base or roll over to shortstop. I'm pretty sure it was. It was a rollover in the infield to not get a runner home. So that is the big picture. And then you have another instance where George Springer gets to second base, tie ball game. You got a runner in scoring position. Perfect opportunity to get ahead in a baseball game, and not a very productive bat from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. again whatsoever. So it's not as much of, he had 3 for 5 stat line. It's, if he could have, went 1 for 5 and maybe got a line drive single, to drive in 2 runs in that second inning, maybe that's a different narrative that we are talking about. And maybe there's no winning for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. here because you might look at the back at it and look at the stats later on. The OPS isn't as good. The average isn't as good. But I feel like when you come up in these clutch situations, the rest of the stats really take care of themselves. Just unfortunate to see your superstar not really coming up in a situation that is one of the biggest series of the year for your Blue Jays ball club.
And this is what really bugs me, right? When you talk about, I don't want to just call out other podcasts or anything like that, but Blue Jays media as a whole, they look at these stats and they post them and they're like, oh, good day from Vladdy, 3 for 5, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, are you watching the games at all? Because to me, 3 for 5 is great. But if you're not doing it in the key scenarios when you're a $500 million player, I'm not thrilled about that. Because Carter, I don't know, one of his hits was a lucky bloop single to center field.
He got jammed aggressively. And a lot of people were not happy about that because he was smiling after he got
Yeah,
jammed
that's ridiculous.
aggressively,
That's
which I
ridiculous.
think is, a little bit wild. It's like, oh, people were saying, oh, Vladdy's a little bit unserious. Like, no, he just knows that he put an okay swing in the ball. Again, got jammed. Maybe shouldn't have got the desired outcome that he did get, but he knows that still a competitive enough at bat that you get the barrel on the ball, or at least you get some of the bat on the ball, and you are still able to drive that to center field. But yeah, like it's not that Vladdy's laughing because, I got out again, or like, oh, not a very good hit ball once again. It's just, like sometimes you just got to laugh at, some things that are unexpected or not things that aren't on the common occurrences that happen in the ball game. I don't think it's just Vladdy being like, oh, well, like I got beat on that pitch. And that's pretty funny to me.
No, and you know what? As much as I'm complaining about Vlad right now, and I will, because I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Me and you both said that immediately when we started this podcast. Is we're going to be very straight up. If we like something, we'll say it. If we don't like something, we'll say it that as well. And so I didn't like Vlad's at bats in those key moments, and I said that. But in that situation, I have Vlad's back on that one because I probably would have been thinking the same thing. I get jammed on a pitch that maybe I shouldn't have won that at bat, and it goes into center field. I'm not overly upset at him being happy about that because I would have been happy too. It's like, man, you know what? I'm over here. I'm getting beat, but I can still find a way to get the job done. Good on him. I think you smile about that. That's fine. But what does upset me is in a big situation, you are the franchise cornerstone of this team and you can't get a job done, which seems like ever. And this is something I've come back to time and time and time again. For those of you who listen to this podcast consistently, I'm getting frustrated, Carter.
Well, and Vladdy's MO is just hitting the ball hard. There's going to be a lot of outs that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has where he hits the ball 100 miles an hour, 105 miles an hour, 110, 115 even miles an hour, and he's not going to get on base. So when he hits the ball 85 miles an hour, it's not his greatest swing of all time, that base hit falls. I think you can give him the benefit of the doubt on that specific pitch when he is giving the production on maybe not his greatest swing. It's baseball. Sometimes when you hit the ball hard, it's not going to work out. Sometimes you put the worst swing of all time on the baseball and it ends up in a bloop double. So I don't think
that can go back to you and Jarvis on MLB The Show when he bloop singled you to death, right?
Oh, I could just go back to every single matchup me and Jarvis have ever had. And most of the time he's just, absolutely getting jammed or absolutely just not even close to a pitch, usually late on a changeup or something on the outside part of the plate. And somehow it is just the perfectly hit single up the middle. And then I'm throwing my controller at the wall. But luckily for the Toronto Blue Jays, I guess actually not lucky for the Toronto Blue Jays, at least for Andrew Rogers, it's not controllers, it's iPads. And usually it's the iPads that are having some of the destruction. But lucky, I guess, for him, we haven't really seen a whole lot of that from the Toronto Blue Jays yet this year. Last thing that I quickly just wanted to go into for this Toronto Blue Jays ball club is just that ninth inning. It is with Jeff Hoffman, because as much as I have given Jeff Hoffman a lot of credit this year, I haven't really been that mad about some of his blowups. That's a meatball to Ben Rice. That's a pitch that can't happen to Ben Rice. That can't happen to an NL East or an AL East opponent. That can't happen to a team that is now only 3 games below you. And a team in the New York Yankees that has a good offense, that if they hit more home runs than you, they're probably going to beat you in a baseball game. That's what we learned from the playoffs last season, even though the Toronto Blue Jays were not there. In these big games, in these scenarios where both teams have pretty good pitching staffs and have pretty good pitchers on the mound, it's going to be very hard to string together a single, a double, a triple, a single, a walk, a single again. Sometimes it's that one mistake pitch that you have to do damage on. So especially with the New York Yankees, this could be a little bit of insight of what we could expect in the playoffs, is that if you don't out home run a baseball team, it is going to be pretty hard to beat them, especially when they have some of their best pitchers on the mound. And in this instance, the Yankees didn't even have one of their top 3 guys on the mound.
Yeah, one more thing I want to get into after this. Maybe I'll save it for the third segment. But going back to that inning, and I think something I've noticed a lot lately in the MLB, and not just Blue Jays specifically, but just, watching highlights. I get up in the morning and I watch baseball highlights because I'm sick apparently. And that's all I like to do is watch baseball. It's the inside fastball, and it's one pitch specifically. When pitchers can't get the inside fastball high enough or low enough, it really comes back to bite them. It's that it doesn't matter how inside that inside fastball is, as long as it's, under belt high, like, I don't know, 2 inches from the top of the zone, 3 inches from the top of the zone, and it's sort of middle, but closer to the inside of the strike zone. that thing's getting taken yard or doing damage every time. So in a situation where there is a ball game that's a, tie, maybe that's not a pitch you can go to. Like maybe work an outside fastball, maybe work a low inside something else. Because more often than not that I see, it's that mislocated high inside fastball that ends up getting absolutely worked. So again, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm the only one that notices this, but it's not just the Toronto Blue Jays. It's league wide that this pitch specifically is getting utilized. So I don't know. Maybe that's something to think about. Hey, every pitcher's having problems with this specific pitch. Maybe try something else. And I get you want to utilize it and you want to try because maybe you want to catch somebody off guard. But if something isn't working for not just you, but the entire league, maybe that's not a coincidence.
No, there is a full-on reason why pitchers are using this inside fastball. I'm just thinking about this logistically. What's the quickest fastball or what's the quickest pitch that you could throw on the inside part of the plate? That is, if you don't swing at it early on, you're probably going to get beat by. It's that inside fastball. Think about it in the opposite sense. Maybe it's that outside curveball. Maybe it's the outside changeup. It's a slow pitch on the outside part of the plate. Normally, you want to let that ball travel a little bit more when it's an outside pitch so you can drive that to right field, to left field, whatever. Again, depends if you're lefty or righty. But with an inside fastball, it's usually speeding up hitters. It's usually that pitch that you're trying to blow by hitters, and is what players and pitchers have been doing to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. a whole lot because he has been hitting breaking balls consistently. He has been hitting fastballs over the middle of the plate consistently, but when it is on that inside part of the plate, the ball is traveling a little bit too far, and that's where we're seeing Vladdy be late. We're seeing Vladdy foul balls off. We're seeing Vladdy pop out. We're seeing Vladdy hit fly balls to the opposite part of the field. So that's why pitchers are using this pitch. It's to disrupt timing. That's the biggest reason why. So obviously they're trying to put it in their cold zone so they know a hitter is better at a high fastball and a low fastball. They're probably going to try to keep that lower fastball, but it's human error. It's MLB pitchers. They are very good players, but obviously they do make mistakes. They do throw pitches where they don't necessarily intend to. So there is a reason why pitchers are using that inside fastball. And
I get that.
When you're using a fastball, when you're attacking hitters inside, sometimes, especially when you're a right-handed pitcher attacking a left-handed pitcher, you're going to miss on that arm side part. When you leave the ball over the plate, bad things are going to happen traditionally when you're playing good MLB hitters.
Yeah, and I get the reasoning behind it. I just think that when you see time after time after time, where does the most damage come from? It's an inside, middle of the zone fastball. Hey, maybe in a situation where you don't want to give up a run, maybe you don't flirt with that part of the zone. Maybe you do go down and away, or down low and inside, or high and away, or just keep the ball away and challenge these guys instead of putting something right in their wheelhouse that if you miss by 2 inches, this ball goes over the wall. So maybe that's just me, and maybe that's coming from, whatever. I'm not an MLB pitcher, but I've had my time. Where's one spot that I never wanted to pitch, and that was middle zone inside. So I try to avoid that as much as possible when I pitch. So again, I'm not an MLB pitcher. These guys are a lot better than me, but when a mistake happens, that is one spot that just irritates me when they do miss.
See, I'm not aligning with your line of thinking here. I think if you avoid that inside fastball and you don't attack the inside part of the plate, you're allowing pitchers to wait longer. You're allowing pitchers to see the ball for a longer period of time. If you're scared to go inside, especially if you're going to work off those off-speed pitches, again, the whole point of it is to disrupt that timing. So it's kind of the same idea as the high curveball that you're not a big fan of, is that you don't want to throw that all the time necessarily, but it's to kind of disrupt that timing, to see it gives a hitter something that they're not necessarily used to seeing. So if you're not attacking the inside part of the plate, you're allowing hitters to wait a little bit longer. You're allowing them to look over the middle of the plate. You're allowing them to sit on those off-speed pitches a little bit more prominently. And I think that's where, if you're not attacking the inside part, if you're not speeding up hitters, you're allowing them to get more comfortable in the box. And that's where you see more damage consistently happen. Whereas, yes, if you do miss your spot in the inside fastball, it leaks over the plate, for sure, that's not going to be a good scenario for you. But if you're just scared of that inside pitch and you're scared to throw that inside pitch.
It's not being about scared. It's about utilizing misses. And so if you're going to miss a pitch,
well, if you're going to miss the inside pitch, you try to miss it farther inside.
Exactly.
That's the whole point.
Yeah. So that's the problem, is where you got to know where to be on the cautious side. So I'm not saying avoid that pitch entirely, but if you are going to throw that, you have to be okay. We want to be outside of the zone, if anything, because you don't want that leaking over. So
That's it. That's almost every pitch, though. Like, you're not trying to miss over the middle, right? If you're throwing an outside slider, you'd rather not have it leak over the middle. You want it to be outside. Sure. Throwing a high fastball, you don't want to miss low. You want to miss on the higher side of the strike zone. You want to miss out of the strike zone as much as you can with any pitch possible, right?
Totally. But I think what you're seeing is the most damage being done is when you do miss that inside fastball on the inner half of the plate. And that's where a lot of hitters are being able to utilize pitches. So I'm just saying the miss opportunity is greater outside. I think a lot of players miss balls further outside. And then if you're a pitcher, hey, you have to make sure that pitch is really inside if it's going to be if you're going to try and test something like that. So I like the clarification on your part. I didn't mean that you shouldn't go there at all. But if you're going to, you have to be very conscientious about where you're placing that pitch, because a lot of hitters love the inside fastball when it is over, just over that, I guess, inner side of the plate, if you want to say.
Yeah, I guess you could say pitching's a little bit like golf, is you're playing to your misses in some sort of sense. You still want to hit your good shots. You still want to attack the pin, obviously. But if you're going to miss, and it's, maybe a right break and green or whatever it may be, you want to give yourself a better position to miss so you're not hurt as much in the long run. So I can definitely see what you are getting at with that. But just in totality from the pitching staff, just not exactly what you want to see. Well, I can't even say that because it's really just Max Scherzer and I guess Jeff Hoffman. But just not what you want to see in totality from the Toronto Blue Jays when you don't win a baseball game. Clearly, you did a couple things wrong. I don't think it was necessarily a bad baseball game from this team. You're playing the Yankees. As much as we like to have fun on this podcast, the Yankees are still a good baseball team, as much as, I like to hate on them. But we still have a ton more to talk about. We still have a third game to talk about and give you guys our opinions on how that third game will shake up. Ton more that we want to get into, and we will dive right into that after this short break. Today's episode is sponsored by Open Phone. If you're running a business, you know that every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you had a service emergency like a burst pipe. If the first plumber did not answer, did you wait? Nope, you called the next one. And that's why having a reliable business line is so important. And that's why you do need Open Phone. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system that helps you streamline and scale customer communication, all from an app on your phone or computer. One great thing about Open Phone is that, especially whether you're going out with your friends, maybe you're doing a 9-9 challenge for some reason on a Tuesday night, you might not be available, especially in the early morning, to answer a business call. That's why Open Phone's AI agent is so nice to have, because if you're a customer calling a company and you don't get an answer, you might think, hey, do they care about me? Do they care about customer service? If you do have that AI agent answer, it can answer the most common questions like, hey, what are your business hours? When can I reach you? Just giving people a little bit of that stability and reasoning like, hey, I do care. I do appreciate your service. I'm just not able to answer the phone right now because I was doing something ridiculous with my roommate, because we were drinking 9 beers, having 9 hot dogs, and watching 9 innings of baseball. Obviously, your businesses may be a little bit more fun, or they are serious as well. But you guys obviously have stuff that is going on. It's not obviously and availability accessible to answer every single business call. So Open Phone is there to help you out in your time of need. So Open Phone is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedonmlb. That's openphone.com/lockedonmlb. If you have an existing number with another service, Open Phone will port them over at no extra charge. That's Open Phone, no missed calls, no missed customers.
So, Carter, just one more thing I wanted to bring up before we get really into, the third game of this series, and that's Davis Schneider. I mean, again, I didn't want to bring him up early because, again, you know what? I feel like I talk about him a lot, and it becomes, like I'm just, giving the guy all his flowers. I could have said something else there, but giving the
you
guy
wanted too bad too.
Yeah,
I could tell that. You could tell we did a 999 challenge before this. We're watching just a little bit more about what we say on this podcast. Let it fly a little bit more loose, which is definitely nice in some instances, but not as nice when some other people are listening to your podcast.
That's right. No, I think what he was. What he was able to do in the one at bat, and what he's been able to do over the span for a while now, has just been electric. I think he's done all the right things to the plate. If it's fighting off pitches, if it's getting jobs done in certain scenarios, this guy, I mean, like I said, one of my favorite players to watch. I just love this guy. It seems like, a guy that was down on his luck. You weren't sure if he's ever going to make the majors, and he's coming in and making a difference in big situations. That slide to home where he just beats out the tag, Carter. It just did something. I was fired up.
See, Davis Schneider is like that guy on a job site, just in your friend group, that's going to do just a little bit more to help out the boys. Like, hey, if we're doing shingling a roof, he's going to carry up all the shingles. If we're doing some concrete, we're pouring some concrete, he's going to be that main guy on the rake, spreading that crap around, making sure that all the boys are taken care of. If he's landscaping, he's going to be the guy that has limestone. He's going to be spreading it around. He's going to do that little extra bit to help the rest of the team out, and that's seemingly what Davis Schneider has been doing with the quality of at bats that he's had, again, with the extra hustle that he's hustling around third base with, a great slide, obviously, at home plate too, and just doing what he is asked for. He kind of just knows his role. He's not being asked, be the foreman of the crew. He's just being asked, be maybe the staff member that's, doing some of the little gruntle work that maybe the veterans and the guys that have been there a while don't necessarily want to do, or just aren't as inclined to do, or just don't have the ability to do anymore when you're George Springer, you're 35 years old. Maybe some of the athletic ability is being pushed over to David Schneider, but credit to him for making the most of his opportunities. Has almost like a 900 OPS at this point since being recalled. Like, we talked about this on the live stream. Joey Loperfido, Will Wagner, we've talked about it all season long as well, but these guys specifically, David Schneider, as well as Loperfido and Wagner, since they've been recalled, Schneider has like a 900 OPS, Loperfido has like a 950 OPS, Will Wagner's about 333, not the OPS guy that you're necessarily looking for, but a guy that's really going to get on base for you. That's his traditional MO as a hitter in the major leagues. So those three guys specifically, along with just anyone who you rely on. Mason Flaherty, we just talked about in this game, who got called up from AAA and gave you 2 scoreless innings. It doesn't matter who it is, if it's Davis Schneider, if it's any of these guys. Credit to Davis Schneider, though, especially with kind of the rocks and the peaks and valleys that he has overcome in his short MLB career. But credit to him, again, first production in his short sample size, but since he's been recalled to this team, massive against left-handed pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. And, obviously I love him. I got his jerseys because he's my, favorite player to watch. He's just a blue collar guy. That's what it seems like. And Carter, summed that up of what he was talking about before. Another guy, Carter, that just the work ethic, the hustle, I don't even know, the gamesmanship, Miles Straw. And we talk about him a lot, but man, he just seems to do everything right for this team too.
Yeah, and so does Anthony Volpe. Seems to do a lot of right for the Toronto Blue Jays as well. Another error for Anthony Volpe, which kind of started a little bit of a rally for the Toronto Blue Jays. But same idea for Miles Straw, hustling no matter what it is. If it's a rollover to the first baseman, it could be a fly out to the shortstop, or a pop up to the shortstop. It could be a fly out to left field. It could be a double down the line. It doesn't matter if it's the hardest hit ball in Miles Straw's career or a pop up behind the catcher that's not even in play in the first place. He is hustling every single time he touches a baseball field. Aston Barger, another guy that does that. A lot of these younger players, David Schneider, we're seeing do that a whole lot of the time. So when every single player on your baseball team is showing maximum effort, that inspires the veterans on the baseball team, that inspires the pitching on the baseball team, that inspires the coaching staff to be dialed in and do their best on a baseball field. It just really inspires everyone and gets everyone watching, all the fans, especially me and you, especially the people that watch this team day in and day out. It really inspires us and gets us excited for what the product on the field is going to be for the Toronto Blue Jays. Again, this team lost a baseball game that definitely sucks, and especially because it was against the New York Yankees. There's still a ton of positives to draw away from this baseball team. And in the grand scheme of things, this team is still playing a great caliber of baseball.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest takeaway out of everything that we talked about. We talked about positives, we talked about negatives, but at the end of the day, this wasn't a 10-1 loss. This was a hard-fought battle.
And they battled back, too. That was the biggest thing.
And they battled back. Yeah. Against two teams fighting not only for the AL East, but for the AL in total. The Blue Jays still one win back of the AL title. We can't take this for granted as Blue Jays fans. So even after a loss, I don't want to see all those fans falling off because they lost to the Yankees by 1 run in 1 game. Stick with this team. Show them that you have the support. I mean, Rogers Center's been electric. So, yeah, I don't want to hear a ton of negativity right now. As much as, we come on this podcast and we'll talk about the negatives for sure. but I'm not going to sit here and harp on them and drag this team down. I'm going to be pumped up. I'm going to be excited. And Carter, in saying that, this is a massive game 3 that I think in the grand scheme of things, this could be a game that hopefully gets a Max Fried early and you get to the bullpen somewhat early and take advantage there, because this should be a great opportunity for this team, but it's going to be tough to get to Fried for sure.
Well, we talked about it. It's just who you're going to have to go against. Scott Efros, Ian Hamilton. Like, if you can get past Ian, or you can get past Max Fried in this baseball game, that is a tall task, don't get me wrong. But you're going to set yourself up pretty well. And if you're going to get mad about anything, wait until the third game. If this team loses a series to the Yankees, yeah, sure, you can be mad about some things. But in totality, even if they do lose, this third game is still 2 games up on the American League. We'll have to see what the Detroit Tigers do. The Pittsburgh Pirates doing us a ton of favors right now, helping us out over there. The Astros, I think they did win yesterday, but the Red Sox lost again. So a lot of things are still going pretty well here for the Toronto Blue Jays. So again, as much as we do want to take it day by day, we want to, encompass the little things. We want to pay attention to the little things that does end up winning you a baseball game if you do a lot of the little things right. But at the end of the day, every good baseball team is going to lose at least 33% of the time at minimum. So it's baseball. Baseball is based off failure. You're not going to succeed at every single moment of the year, as much as these losses do suck, especially when they're against the New York Yankees. I will reiterate that as much as I possibly can, because I'm never going to say it's fun to lose against the Yankees, but it is baseball. Bad things are going to happen. It's just you want more good things to happen than the bad things. And unfortunately, in this Yankees game, there was a little bit more bad things to happen than the good.
Yeah, exactly. As always, we want to thank all of you guys for listening, watching. Those of you who tuned into the live stream, it was way more than appreciated. Some of you guys donated to the live stream, and that was unbelievable. Totally unnecessary. We do this for the love of the game. A little bit. Obviously, we do this 5 days a week because we love it, because we love this team, because we love this fan base and everybody that we get to talk to on a daily, and the connections we make. Some of you guys that were in the live stream, we've known for a year and a half now, because you guys have been with us ever since. So we appreciate that more than you guys could ever know. And it was a ton of fun. We didn't obviously finish. My stomach has never felt worse, just from the amount of hot dogs. Carter at one point looked at me and said, "This might have been a terrible idea." And I was like, yeah, this is my bad. But again, coming from a standpoint of you guys being with us and us all being able to watch this team together, it has been unbelievably fun. So thank you all for that. Carter, my man, before we kick out of here for the day, anything else you want to say to the people?
Yeah, there is actually one more thing that we did talk about a little bit at the end of the live stream, but I wanted to bring it up in the podcast as well. Shout out to a bunch of you guys that did tune into the live stream. I'm going to name drop the people that I quickly remember here. Eric, I know you were in there. Obviously, Paul Duffy did show up as well. Natalia was there. Katie was there. Big Ron, who apparently was doing the 999 challenge with us as well. That's just a few of you guys. If I did miss you guys, that is my bad. Be sure to comment. We'll give you your flowers in the comment section as well. But the last thing I wanted to bring up on this episode is that we didn't really go over the results of our 999 challenge. As much as you guys might not have tuned into the live stream, you probably didn't know that we were doing it. So at what point is a little bit of this our fault? Because unfortunately, we were not able to finish the 999 challenge. I was able to finish the 9 beers, and we did do this like 45 minutes before the challenge. So credit to us for, kind of sticking with this podcast. I think we did pretty well for the most part. I guess there is a little bit of time for us to screw that up. But I did get 9 beers in. I did do 7 hot dogs. I think you did 7 beers and 7 hot dogs, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
so 14 for yourself, 16 for me.
Yeah.
Sucks to
my
suck,
buddy,
Braden, but maybe try to drink some more beers next time.
Yeah, honestly, the beers weren't the problem. I think if it was just like a 10 beers in 9 innings, I wouldn't have had an issue. The hot dogs, I had, I think, 4 early in the show, and I was hurting. Those 4 immediately, I was like, this is going to be a problem, and it was. The beers felt good. Honestly, it gave me a little bit of relief. But yeah, 7-7. My over under from Justin Powers was set at 13.5. So I did want to go out and make sure I beat that. So I did get 14 total in beers and hot dogs combined. I was happy with my performance. I would have liked to finish, don't get me wrong, but you know what? It is what it is. We'll do better next time, if there ever is a next time. I don't know if I'll ever want to do that again, because my stomach is not great right now.
See, my prediction was 9 beers. I knew I would get the 9 beers down. I definitely did that, but my prediction was 6 hot dogs. I got 7. I can say 7.5. I'm not really going to count the half, obviously, but that's just where I was at. It's just I got to that eighth hot dog, and I couldn't do it. There was no way that it was going to happen. So shout out to anyone that has attempted the 999 challenge, and especially a shout out to anyone who has completed that 999 challenge, because I don't know how you're hammering 9 hot dogs into you, but credit to you if you are able to do that. You had some mental fight that myself, and Braden both did not have, obviously, in this podcast. But still, it was a pretty good game to do it. We obviously did have a ton of fun, even though the Blue Jays did lose that game. But our favorite part, we say this all the time, is talking to the people, hearing their perspectives, letting us know how they're feeling about this baseball team, what their favorite players are, their favorite moments of the season, what they should do at the trade deadline. So we're able to enjoy that part of the live stream, just talking to you guys and seeing what your opinions and perspectives were on this current Toronto Blue Jays ball club here. But just wanted to say thank you guys for watching. The likes, comments, all the subscriptions have been much appreciated. I did check, and it is 73% of you guys are not subscribed. So if you are tuning in, checking out the live streams that we are planning on doing, especially with the trade deadline coming up, but the regular podcast, the shorts, whatever it ends up being, anything we do post from YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you do listen to your podcast as well, it does help us out a ton. But we're continuing on with the regularly scheduled programming, hoping for a series win against the New York Yankees, probably not putting them to bed necessarily, but making us feel a whole lot better about our current situation, especially here in the AL East. Just wanted to say one more time, thank you guys for watching, and we will talk to you guys again tomorrow.